Opening day is here, and within 2 weeks, most Yankee fans will have already formed strong opinions about this team. They'll say the lineup is fixed or it's broken. They'll say the bullpen is elite or a problem. And most of those opinions won't actually matter because the first 2 weeks of the season don't tell you if a team is good, but they do tell you how a team is built. And if you know what to look for, you can see the season coming before the standings catch up. Every year, the first 2 weeks of the season creates noise. A team starts 8-2, everyone says they're different. They start 3-7, everyone says it's the same problems. And the truth is, both reactions are usually wrong. Baseball is too long, too volatile, and too streaky. You're going to see hot stretches that don't last, and cold stretches that don't define anything. You'll see random outcomes that don't reflect the actual structure of the team. So if you're judging the Yankees based on wins and losses in the first 10 to 15 games, you're going to misread this team. But, and this is the most important part, there are things that show up immediately. Not results, but structure. And once you know how to see those things, you stop reacting and you start understanding. So let's define what actually matters. Not everything, just the things that translate. The first thing to watch is simple. How does this team score runs? Not how many runs they score, but how they score them. Because in April, you can score in a lot of ways. Bad pitching, mistakes, weather, timing. But in October, those things disappear. So when you watch these first couple of weeks, ask yourself, if the Yankees don't hit a home run tonight, can they still score? Can they move runners? Can they make contact in big spots? Can they put pressure on the defense? Or does the offense stall out the second the ball stays in the park? Because if this team needs the home run, that's not a hot streak, that's a limitation. The second thing we should look at is what happens when something goes wrong. Because it will. There will be an error, a bad inning, a blown lead, a cold night at the plate. That's not the test. The test is what happens next. Do they stabilize? Or does one mistake turn into three? Do they respond with clean baseball? Or does the game speed up? Good teams can recover. Fragile teams spiral. And you can see the difference immediately. We saw that in the World Series in 2024. One mistake turned into two mistakes, turned into three. The team unraveled. That is not what a good team does. Not a championship team, anyway. The third thing we're going to want to look at is the bullpen stability. Not ERA, not strikeouts, but usage. Who does the manager trust? And how quickly does that trust narrow? If by game 10 you already feel like there's only two guys we can trust, that's a problem. Because in October, you don't just need two arms. You need stability across multiple spots. And if the bullpen starts tightening early, that pressure doesn't go away, it compounds. Fourth is lineup flexibility. Is this lineup flexible or is it fixed? Can it adjust? Can it survive slumps? Can different players carry on different nights? Or are we dependent on the same 2 to 3 hitters producing? Because if that's the case, when those hitters go cold, and they will, the entire system slows down. And that's when games start slipping. We've seen that pretty much every June for the last few years. June into July, we've seen that when it's not Judge hitting, who's going to be the next man up? And we've seen for short spurts where other guys can hit and lead this team to some wins. But we need guys who step up consistently, or different guys to step up on different nights if we want to win a championship. So with this current team, this current Yankees roster, there's a lot to like. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of power. There are pieces that on paper can absolutely win games. But here's the real questions. If the home runs slow down, does this offense still function, or does it stall? If one key player misses time, does the lineup still feel like a system, or does it feel like patchwork? If the bullpen has to cover extra innings early, does it hold or collapse quickly? And if they lose a couple of games in a row, do they stay clean, or does this pressure show up in more small mistakes? These aren't long-term questions. You'll start seeing answers almost immediately. We'll see over the first few weeks if we're home run or bust. Can guys get on base? Can we steal bases? Get guys into running position, into scoring position, and then bring them home. You don't have to get home runs, it doesn't have to be doubles. You can literally get a single, a stolen base, 2 sac flies. Productive outs still count. As far as players missing time, Judge missed almost a third of the season in 23, and we missed the playoffs. If it's a championship team, one player missing time cannot cause the entire team to collapse. I mean, on this team, we've got a bunch of decent hitters. Behind Judge, you've got Bellinger, you've got Ben Rice, Stanton, as long as he's healthy. Jazz Chisholm should be able to contribute. Hopefully he's not home run or bust. I know he said he's trying to go 50 homers, 50 stolen bases. But I'd much rather just see him get on base, steal bases, and score runs. But those other guys have to step up. Can Austin Wells step up? Caballero, Volpe when he gets back, if he's inserted into the starting lineup, will he produce? And we've seen him actually be decent in the playoffs. He takes a lot of crap. He hasn't been very good in the regular season, but he is one of the few players that steps up his game in the playoffs. As for the bullpen, I know we've said we hope to see some of these young guys come in during the season and stabilize the bullpen. I'm interested to see the pieces that we have now. Hopefully Bednar is going to be a shutdown closer. Hopefully Doval can be a good setup man. We like Fernando Cruz. Tim Hill's been decent. Not sure how long that's going to last. And pretty much everybody else is a question mark to me. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Hopefully the guys that are there right now can produce. If not, we've got Legrand waiting. I wouldn't mind seeing him sooner than later either, if we need the help. And then, of course, if they lose a couple of games in a row, is this team going to stay clean or fold? And like I said, the last few summers, they have just fallen apart. It's a good thing we've gotten out to good starts in April and May, because the June swoon is real, and nobody swoons like the Yankees in June. Hopefully we can avoid that. Losing streaks are fine. That's a part of the game. Extended losing streaks, seeing errors, seeing base running mistakes, that's not okay. That's not up to the standard. That is not what you see from a championship team. Now, on the flip side, there's also some things that we should not overreact to. Like batting averages in April. They wildly fluctuate. So, if somebody's hitting below 200 in April, I know we're going to be keeping a close eye on Trent Grisham, because he seems to be the one that is in the way of the young guys coming up in Dominguez and Jones. But you got to give him some leeway. He had an amazing year last year. Hopefully he can continue that. I want to see the young guys just as much as everybody else, but I want this team to do well with the players we have right now. If that doesn't happen, yes, bring up the young guys. Love to see how they perform. Another thing we shouldn't be overreacting to is one bad series. It happens to every team. Every team that has won a championship, gotten through the playoffs, you have one or two or three or multiple bad series throughout a season. It's a marathon, it's not a sprint. The early standings in the first couple of weeks mean almost nothing. Like I said, marathon, not a sprint. The standings will change immensely from the beginning of the season to the end of the year. It's not often that a team that gets hot in April stays hot throughout the year. So, if we're a few games behind, no big deal. If we're a few games ahead, got to keep the pedal to the metal. You can't get too comfortable either. Even a short losing streak is part of the season. So don't confuse the noise with signal. Because if you just focus on the results, you'll chase the wrong story. The first 2 weeks won't define the Yankees, but they will reveal them. They'll show you how this team scores, how it responds, and how stable it really is. And if you're watching the right things, you don't need to wait until October to understand what this team is. You'll already know what it is. And starting next episode, we'll begin evaluating what we're actually seeing in real time. This is The Standard with Brian Leavy.